Welcome back to another episode of the Transformation Code. If you're a new listener, then welcome. It's really great to have you here, and we look forward to going on this journey and essentially becoming someone greater than we already are, right? Stepping into these transformations. And if you're a listener who's come back and again and again and again, we really appreciate you tuning in and all of your support and to be on this journey. So yeah, I'm Sam, the host of the show, and really my goal is to get great people in so we can have deep conversations that go beyond just surface level stuff and give you tangible things that you can then go away with and implement into your life to make your life even better than it already is. So in today's episode, we have Dan Jukes. Dan Jukes, he runs a empowered global network with young entrepreneurs, helping them educate financially, but also in all areas of life so that they can really step into their next level of health, of wealth, of wellness. And he's also, a guy that we've been connected for years now. We've come from the same industry of network marketing. And also I've seen him as a guy that I really respect and I value. The conversations that we've had previously around faith, around wealth, around leadership have really helped me in my life. So I wanted to share that with you as the listener. So in today's episode, you can expect to learn and the dramatic shift which Dan took in his life from what he thought success looked like before to what success actually looks like. We also discuss about the power of curiosity, and you can be curious about the episode now knowing that we speak about curiosity a lot. And that concept alone, when you implement it, I believe will really help you in different areas of your life. So look, I'm excited for you to tune into this episode and enjoy it. And also let us know any feedback that you have off the back of it. But the most important thing, take something, maybe one actionable piece of advice, implement it into your life and see the change. Enjoy the episode. All right, man. Well, yeah, great to have you on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here, bro.
Yeah, awesome, man. Looking forward to the conversation. I thought we'd a great place to start. We're like, you're like a expert and smashed it when it comes to, the financial wealth and education. And when it comes to the masses, what are the masses doing wrong when it comes to financial wealth? And what could they be doing differently to change it for their future?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting one without going down any rabbit holes. I think at the end of the day, the system is designed to suit a few. And as I always like to say, there's one big club and we're not in it. And it's not people's problem that they don't know. It's not their fault that they're not programmed or educated in the day, because that's the big difference. They're not educated. They don't understand the financial system, and we're not supposed to. And so when you say, what can people do, is get educated. But I'm sure we'll talk a lot about how you can do that, because we're in a world that's just so noisy, and it's really hard to stay focused, really hard to follow the right people, really hard to know who to listen to. And I think when you first, at the end of the day, we've got an education system that teaches us how to be employees, teaches us how to copy and paste. It doesn't teach us how to think. So the moment you get exposed to new information, there's a part of your brain that doesn't like it. It's quite uncomfortable, especially when you start learning about money and finances and what really goes on. And so I've always been really curious about it from since I was young, and then became passionate about it. And then when I really became passionate about it, I applied it. And then when I applied it, it just lit me on fire to want to show the world on like how to do it. But it comes at a cost, because it's not normal everyday information. And so I'm far from an expert, but I hear what you're saying. That's kind of like what I expertise in, I guess. But yeah, it all came from curiosity. The average person, they don't understand it because they're not supposed to. And then it's about finding, the start is really finding the right people to listen to, find the right information, which is pretty hard,
Yeah, especially in today's day and age where you got one person saying this, one person saying that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if someone is interested in, educating or, building their wealth around this, where would be, obviously starting with this podcast, like what was kind of the first steps that you took?
Yeah.
Where you had that light bulb moment to be like, hang on, everything that we've been taught around this may not actually be as legit as, what you first thought.
Yeah, I think two things I'd say I'd start with is number one is curiosity. Like, you have to be curious about the way the world is. Like, for me, it was just like, I've always been a weird child. I've always been a weird person, but a very weird child in the way that I think. I always thought differently. I always found myself on the opposing end of every discussion. So there would be a group, they would have a shared opinion, and I'd always be sitting there thinking, I think that's wrong, but I'd never had the courage to say anything. So the first thing starts with like curiosity. You've got to be curious about you know, how is it that so many people are struggling in a world where we have an abundance of money and banks and governments can literally print it out of thin air and they magic billions of dollars to send for war, but the average person can't even eat in some places in the world? That's got to be a curious thought that you have. And I had that, super curious. Actually came back from when I used to watch my mum. You know, my mum was amazing, worked so hard, but never had any money. And I was thinking to myself, that makes no sense. You know, how does a woman, a very like noble woman going out to work, raising a family on her own, but has nothing to show for it? It made no sense. So it's curiosity. And then the second thing is humility. You know, having the humility to kind of think, well, I don't know the answers. I need to figure it out. And humility is like probably the hardest part, to understand that I don't know what I don't know. And then that's kind of like the start. That's where I would start is, you know, you gotta be curious and you gotta have the humility to know that you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, like curiosity, that piece is it's key, because then that opens up opportunity. Like it opens up the mind to see something different.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas like that, you know, fixed mindset piece, if you're like, oh, just fixing a way of doing something, then how do you change from that place? Yeah, and like you share, like with when it comes to the, you know, where most people's finances are laid out, it's like when you look at the world and most people are working hard, you know, and they couldn't work much harder, right? Like they're maximizing their time, and so it's like, well, what's going wrong in that piece?
Yeah,
you know.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's a lack of. I mean, the good place to start, if I was going to give a recommendation, is obviously Rich Dad Poor Dad from Robert Kiyosaki. It's an old school. It's like it's just a go-to. And the first kind of law is that the rich don't work for money, they have money working for them. And when I first read that, it was like a riddle to me, because obviously I don't know what I don't know. So, but it made sense. It made sense that rich people don't work as hard, because if you look at construction workers, I was kind of in that industry, and it's physical, hard labor, but you're capped at what you can earn because you're paid by the hour, by the job, by the price. But rich people don't operate like that. They leverage businesses, they leverage brick and mortar businesses, they leverage financial markets and stuff like that. So yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad for me was like the first eye-opener. Robert Kiyosaki's really good at just kind of bringing simple. He's pretty ruthless as well, but again, it's all down to education and understanding that it's not really about, like, hard work comes in many forms, but again, it's like what a wealthy person would call hard work is very different to what I don't want to say an average person, but you know, that uneducated person would class as hard work, because people say, I need to get more money, so I'll get an extra job. Whereas that's not how a wealthy person would think, you know, because if you're uneducated and just starting out now, as I tell people, before you start thinking about, I'm going to go out and start building wealth, I'd be thinking about, well, instead of thinking about what you need to start, what do you need to stop? Because most people are spending way too much. That's why they don't have money. They earn enough money, which they spend too much.
Principle, right? And Rich Dad Poor Dad, where it's like, look at your expenses,
100%
liabilities, and
assets and liabilities. But again, bro, like I went to school, went to sixth form, stayed next year at sixth form because I was so bad at English I need to take it 3 times. Went to university, came out at 22. I'd never been told what an asset was, never been told what a liability was. I had debt, but I never was taught what it was. They don't teach you that. Now, is it coincidence? I don't think so. And so, as I said, how would the average person know these things? You wouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And some have a curious nature and some have an ignorance nature. Some people say, oh, well, the world is what it is. It's an evil, dark place. Some people have just no idea and they just live in a fantasy world, which is fine. They seem to be quite happy.
There's some people where you're like, right, fair.
Fair play. But sometimes I wish I was that ignorant to the world, you know. But yeah, some people have that nature, you know, and but as I keep saying, it's like, how would you know if you don't know, if no one tells you? And that's what I'm very passionate about basically just kind of opening that door to education for people, and whether they want to take it or not, that's down to them. But I just know what it did for me, you know. I know the revelations that I had from a business standpoint, it's like helped me so much and opened that door for me. So. Yeah.
Did you come from like a family who had this knowledge, or not?
No, not at all. No, like I said, like my mom was amazing. Like we were, you know, she raised the family pretty much on her own. Me and 2 brothers, so 3 difficult boys. You know, I was chasing, like I was football mad, football obsessed. So she was like managing them, where I was like in and out of academies or whatever, trying to do that. And she worked in sales, which was, I learned a lot through watching her go through the pressure. And one thing she taught me is resilience. Like, that's one thing I can say, is that I'm so, like, resilient. Like, nothing will ever beat me, and I definitely get that from her. But like I said, when it comes to money, she never had any money. We was always on the line, and that's what started my curiosity. To be honest, I couldn't get my head around how someone is working so hard, blood, sweat and tears, overtime. Sales is like under so much pressure. And then I think one of the wake up moments, and again, I'm really young at this point, but I was thinking really weird, like I was up late at night thinking about my future at the age of like 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, like
I think that came from.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
It actually came from the obsession of wanting to be a footballer. Like, I used to really, I used to watch David Beckham. I used to watch Man United's top 50 goals. I wasn't a Man United fan, but I liked Beckham. And then I just used to always just like picture myself as being a footballer. And so I'd already like built a connection between like me now and being a footballer. And I think when you have an ambition that high, even if that dream does die, the ambition never dies, does it? So I kind of always, I don't know how the thinking came around, but all I do know is watching my mum go from job to job and being made redundant. That's when I got really kind of like anti-system. I started to get angry at the world, because I was thinking, how can somebody bring I didn't understand business, obviously. They got rid of her because they needed to, made business cuts, but I don't know back then. All I'm thinking is like, that's my mum, She just worked 2 years, made you millions of pounds while she just got by, and now all of a sudden you're making her redundant. Like, I was so angry. I didn't understand that. And so that's when I turned like anti-system. Even at that age, I just hated the system. I used to do loads of research about how to make money and whatever. And so I was like educating myself in the dark for a long time. And that's kind of how it all started.
So fascinating. Yeah. So at that point, that desire kind of came of like, right, I need to learn about this stuff and educate.
Yeah.
Out of that piece of frustration towards it from.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, I was always like the kid who, it's like, if you told me the stove is hot, I want to figure it out for myself, I won't tell you that, but when like no one's watching, I'll go and touch it and be like, okay, yeah, that's hot.
Yeah.
I'm a bit wiser now, I'm older, but I was that kind of kid. If you tell me not to do something, I'm gonna do it. Like, and that was the same here. So when people would tell me like, this is how you live life, this is how you do everything, I'd be like, says who? Like, why? Let me go and figure it out for myself. So it's kind of, I was like that, like I was like that for a while.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So on that journey where you had that realization where you're like, right, I need to learn about the system, and you kind of had this insight, like, hang on, this isn't right.
Yeah.
What did you learn on that journey?
Well, I learned a lot about like myself, and it's kind of weird because there's a weird section in between, which, we don't have to talk too much about, where I kind of lost a lot of like hope in general. And I was like, I got released from football academies, and I kind of like, although I was kind of still pursuing it, I already knew, like, I'd given up already. Like, every coach used to say he's not assertive enough, he's not confident enough. And when you're told you're not confident enough times, you'll stop being confident, Because when I was younger, I thought I could fly, we all do. But then the world gets into you, and you become a lot more conscious. So I think 14, 15, 16 was kind of difficult for me. I was quite an outgoing kid, and I was always like enjoyed a laugh, but then things started to get really serious. And then I had like a culmination of disappointments, betrayals, relationship breakdowns, ended up going to uni, which I didn't really understand why I was there, being bottom of every class because I wasn't very academic. I used to get through things by pure resilience, and somehow got through uni. But that took its toll on me. And so I kind of had like a period where 3-4 years where spark went out, and I just fell into just some like crazy ways of thinking, like really, really like down. And then I think it was, I say my second, third year of uni. So I was thinking like 2021, I kind of got that anger again, like that kind of anger at the world, which then turned into like being just like really motivated, inspired, and then it kind of started again. And then I started to go down the whole like rabbit holes that led me into that, because again, there's a curious nature, and rabbit hole systems, money, Hollywood, like I'm sure you've been down there as well, like just wanting to know how the world works. Why are people so nasty? Like, what, at that point, I was so angry at people. You know, I've been like betrayed by a few friends and had disappointing relationships. Just couldn't work out why people were like that. And so, yeah, that's when it kind of restarted again.
So interesting. Yeah, what I'm picking up there is that you touched on anger and how like anger can be portrayed as quite a negative emotion, so to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Like turning that anger into action is like fueled a transition for you, which has now led to, you know, a lot more stability and groundedness in your life now.
Yeah, yeah.
So like switching that anger, I think is a really powerful thing, because it's like anything below anger, like any emotion which is lower down from that, it's like quite hard to get moving.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
at least anger gets you going, you know?
No, it's true. I always tell people that like the most paralyzing state to be in is frustration. Whatever you can do to avoid being frustrated, you know, even if it is anger, you know, you turn into like fight or flight mode. But frustration for me is like the ultimate, like as I call it, a paralyzing state, because you know what you're supposed to be doing, but you don't do it, and then it turns into like just a war with yourself kind of. Whereas like anger is like, yeah, as you said, it's a
Gets you moving.
it's a force, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I was very angry at the world, very, very angry at the world, fell into like very much like a victim mentality, why always me? And then, yeah, kind of went from there.
So what did you learn with the financial side of things when you started to go down that rabbit hole?
Well, I just learned that the world is set up to suit a few, and it's one big club and we're not in it. And I started to, you know, I could go on and on and on, but the basics is that, and that, you know, the rich don't work for money and normal people do, and leveraging your time and business. And I just understood that, okay, I need to find a unique opportunity where I can learn, I can grow, and I can make money the way that rich people do. And that was biggest revelation. The biggest revelation is that most people are wrong about pretty much everything, but when it comes to finances especially. And there's a reason why most people are like, as I said, in a world where money is literally printed out of thin air, it's like the biggest crime scene ever. But
and it's the thing that controls and leads most people's life, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, by when someone's like, "Oh, I don't like my job, but I've got to do it for the money."
Right.
But then the next statement is, "Yeah, but money doesn't matter. Money doesn't make you happy."
Yeah.
But it's like actually that's the thing that drives most people's behavior, which is, I suppose once you get beyond that, then you set yourself free to do what you truly want to do.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I love reading books and stuff. And that's another thing. I went down a rabbit hole reading books, Jim Rickards, Robert Kiyosaki, A Wonder Down Wall Street, like all these random books, just going deep into it. But it is just interesting. And then there's a great book by David Brooks called The Second Mountain, which is where we all go on this kind of like quest. It's called A Quest for a Moral Life, actually. We'll go for this like initial quest to like make loads of money. And I've seen you go through it. I've been through it. We all have, where you go for everything's about money, title, status, being the best. And essentially David Brooks hits the top of everything, top of his corporate world, has an amazing family or whatever, and he loses everything. And then he goes on this second kind of build of life, which is built on, you know, spiritual life, you know, what he values, morals, value, like all that kind of stuff. And that's the funny thing about the kind of journey of an entrepreneur, is it never really stops, and the top of one mountain is the beginning of the next. And I've seen that a lot with how money controls people, because although I love the process of learning about money, but I'm not really bothered about money. You know, I'm really not like, you know, I don't drive crazy cars, and I'm not that kind of guy. I just love learning, and I love the process, and I loved taking myself from one side to the other. I really enjoyed that journey, because it was kind of like a big like FU moment to my past self, who was sitting there like suffering. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was crazy. And the uni process is another thing that's just like really crazy to me, you know?
Don't get it, mate. The uni process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's crazy with that uni process is in school, you're like promoted to go to university, right?
Right.
And I caught up with one of my, kind of triggered something in me. Like, I caught up with one of my teachers from school, and I spoke to him about uni, and I was like, hang on, I went to uni for 3 years. I got like 40 grand in debt, 45 grand in debt. And that debt is actually going up. And I was like, why are they promoting uni so much? And he was like, they actually have targets to hit.
Yeah.
So the teachers have the targets to hit. If they don't hit it, then they don't get released the amount of the amount of money into the school.
Yeah.
So they've got to hit these targets, hence why they're pushing you through the system. Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so crazy.
Yeah. Well, I always wondered how they let me in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, money is debt. So that's the way the kind of monetary system works, is by creating debt. And the best way to create debt is to convince average thinking people that it's a good thing to do. It's pretty much the bottom line. So, yeah, you know, like to kind of print 45,000 out of, you know, if you go to the usdebtclock.org, you literally can see the world's debt in front of your eyes going up by the billions. I don't know how many trillions the world is in debt to who. Again, that's another rabbit hole. So it's just, again, another way to kind of create money. I'm not saying that like unis, like don't go to uni, but I'd argue like, again, questioning it, because I didn't.
I think that's it. Yeah. The education behind it. It's not like don't go, but it's like you should have that education before. Like, they should break it down.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, this is what is going to happen in the future for you to go. But you know, and then if you decide to go, at least you're informed.
Yeah. And it becomes like a social pressure as well, because obviously your school celebrate you for going to uni. I actually listened to John C. Maxwell yesterday, and he was saying your first dream is never your dream. It's always your parents' dream, you know, and then you figure out your dream. But most of the time, uni is a social pressure, because, again, your school celebrate you. So you're like, oh, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. Your family celebrate you. Oh, I was the first one to go to uni out of my family. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's amazing. Like, my granddad wanted me to go to uni, who's no longer alive, which, when you think about it, it's pretty crazy, you know, to want to go to uni for somebody who's no longer here. I mean, it sounds noble, but when you think about it, it doesn't really make sense. You know, like, it's kind of crazy. Although, again, it's like one of those kind of proud moments, but it becomes a social pressure. And when I ask myself, do I really want to go in here? I think to myself, no, like, no way. I didn't think about it, especially knowing that I was like pretty much the dumbest one there, education wise. So yeah, you have the social pressure, again, just not knowing at all. But yeah, behind it is quite a scary situation like going on, you know, the financials.
Yeah, it's crazy. And when did you get into the network marketing space from?
Yeah, I love it. So this is the thing, man, like, it's a crazy industry. It's crazier than ever. But I think whenever you have an industry that involves money and people, there's problems, right? So you kind of have to accept it. But yeah, honestly, I came out of uni. I was 22 years old. I was fired up, like wanting to, you know, knew that I wanted to do something bigger. Had absolutely no idea how it would come. And by, I would say, a divine intervention, I get a random message from my friend's dad saying, I mean, you've been network marketing, you know, the old school text, right? I'm pretty sure he forgot to add my name in the copy paste. It just said hi, name in brackets. It was like, but he found me at the right time. He said, listen, I think I've got a really good opportunity. Come round on, I think it was a Friday night, and started sending me some information. I didn't really understand what was going on, but I was like, yeah, I'm there, you know, and when you're looking for opportunity, it come find you, but you have to be open. And it comes back to what I said at the beginning, like, you have to be curious. You know, I always think like only a wealthy when you take an opportunity to a wealthy person, they'll always at least ask a question or have a look, even if they're not interested. But you take opportunities to people and they just say, no, it's a scam, it's this, it's that. So again, the curiosity like played in my favor. So I turn up to this, home event, and next thing you know, they're talking about this business opportunity. And for the first time in a very long time, I was just like, I'm fired up. Like, I'm going to do this thing. Like, I'm going to tear it up. I had no idea what I was doing, obviously. Next thing you know, I'm walking home with some healthy coffee in a box. I don't drink coffee. I'm not healthy. And I've just come from uni where I've been drinking 3 nights a week. But I saw an opportunity and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do this. Like, I'm really, really going to do this. And that was the first kind of like exposure. No idea what I was doing, but I just saw something that loved it and got fired up for it.
Yeah, it's epic.
Yeah,
it's like that curiosity piece as well. It's like reoccurring, right? And it opens up this mind of possibility.
Yeah. Robert Kiyosaki always said, you know, like, a statement closes the mind, a question opens the mind. So when people see an opportunity, I say, oh, it's a scam. That's a statement. That's a statement that closes that opportunity. But if you just say, well, let me have a look at it. What do I think? Not what does the internet think, or what does my mum think, or what does someone like that. Not that your family's opinions are worthless, but it's like, as I said before, you know, if I would go to my mum for certain things, but I wouldn't have gone to my mum about financial education.
Mm.
You just wouldn't. It wouldn't make any sense. And that's the problem with like, the social pressure, is because you're being pushed and pressed to go here and do this, to celebrate getting a job, even if you didn't even want to do the job. You're in a job you hate, but your family celebrate you because you're making good money. That's crazy to me, but that's society, and they have a party about it. So yeah, it's all about being curious and asking a question like, what do I actually think about this? How do I feel about it? Like, what does it look like for me? And yeah, that's always been my kind of starting point.
And when you went down that route as a guy who, went through that period of like the confidence and the way he showed up to then step into network marketing, dealing with people and an opportunity.
Yeah,
how did you navigate that transition?
Well, that was really scary because, as I said, like I fell into a real, I don't want to say depression and all that kind of stuff, but that's what you'd label it as. I was in a very dark place. I didn't want to speak to people. I was sleeping like an hour a night, like literally just tossing and turning in my own thoughts, like getting very, very dark thoughts. And then I became very resentful towards people. I didn't particularly like people. The thought of speaking to people was just so exhausting. And the next thing you know, like I'm in network marketing where you literally have to speak to people, which was quite frightening to me. But I tell you what, one of the things that actually excited me about network marketing is you didn't have to do a job interview.
Oh yeah,
because I hated. I've never had a job interview. I had a job trial at Krispy Kreme's, which went terribly well. But other than that, I've never had a job interview, nothing like that. It just terrified me. The idea that I have to sit there and pretend to be someone that you like. You need to pretend that you like me, all for some money, which was just, again, maybe that's just a weird way of looking at life, but that's how I am. So anyway, I stepped into network marketing, and it was funny because they had this like 18-month plan of how to get to, freedom, or how to get to X amount a month. And I just thought to myself, no, that's not happening for me, But what I was excited about was getting better, because I was in the situation that I was, 22, no money, just not much really going for me. But I already understood that was my problem. That's another thing that people need to understand, is that it's your responsibility. And people will find very creative ways of being able to pass on blame to other people. We get it all the time in our industry, network marketing. When someone fails, they will find a way of making you look like you're the problem, always. And they do it in wonderful ways sometimes, And so, but I was under no illusion that this is where I am. I'm here because of my actions, my responsibilities, my environment. So I need to change. And I think that's the thing, as I said, with changing your finances. You can blame the government and interest rates and inflation and Ukraine and all this all you want, but that's not going to help you. So I picked up a book called Think and Grow Rich, which to this day is like been my, like go-to for most people. And that's where I started. I started to read that book, and it was like the most amazing feeling when you have a revelation that after 22 years, all this education and all these people around me, no one had ever thought to tell me that my thoughts are controlling my life. No one had ever thought to tell me you're not confident because all you think about is being not confident. You're always broke because all you think about is lack of money. And I was like, that is insane to me. So I had this it was really exciting, And so I fell in love with personal development. So while everyone was over here saying, I'm going to make 10 grand a month by next month, or I'm quitting, or I'm going to share this with someone. If they say no, then I'll quit or whatever. I was just like, I'm going to do this until I'm good enough to make enough. And that was it. And so my commitment was very different to everybody else's. After I got out of the little honeymoon period of 24 hours, I'm going to become a millionaire. But then I was just so committed to just getting better. That was it for me.
It really resonates. Yeah, it resonates where very similar time actually got into network marketing too. Yeah. 22. And it's like when you start anything new, that initial 24 hours, the first week is like, oh.
Yeah.
And then reality hits where you're like, oh, geez, like, how am I set up for this? And similar, like, read Think and Grow Rich was an amazing book, life-changing. And then also a book called The Top 10 Distinctions Between Middle Class and Millionaires. One of the mentors in the company recommended that. Blew my mind. Just simple concepts, like think long-term.
Yeah.
Like millionaires think long-term, middle class think short-term. And like, not just in wealth, but also their relationships. That when they meet someone, they're like, hang on, like, I'm going to treat this person like we're going to be doing life together, not
Yeah.
just like I want a transaction now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these concepts, they just rewire and
Yeah,
change the way
it just becomes a philosophy at the end of the day. And that's
Yeah.
the key, isn't it? Like, you know, Jim Rohn said that it's a person's philosophy at the end of the day. You know, if you have a long-term philosophy, then it applies everywhere. So that's the thing, you know.
So you stepped in and then started leading a team
No, well, I wish I did that.
after a while.
After a while, you know, like I spent a long time working on myself. I always tell people, I think I remember my first commission was like $4.50, but it cost $5 to get it out the e-wallet, you know?
Yeah.
And then I hit this point, and this is where like it becomes kind of pivotal of like the way that I am today with the way that I kind of like lead the organization, because I remember I got my first taste of like success, a team building, and I think I had like an organization of like 100. And then one day my upline, who I'd been, you know, edifying for a long time, left. And you know how that goes, right? They end up like, it turns into like taking people and stuff. And I was thinking, what the hell? I was like, I didn't know people did that. That's crazy. Again, it took me back to the moment with like my mum of like, you do all this work and then you get treated like that. And I became like really angry about it. And I was like, I can't believe this whole time I've been telling up on how good this guy is. And then he goes and makes a mad move like that. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to do something about this, you know? And then these are like great learning moments, because then I learned, okay, people do that. I mean, that's life. A lot of people hate, you know, I see a lot of like negativity around network marketing, and I agree with a lot of the time what they say, but it's like a lot of the problems happen everywhere. It's like network marketing is pretty much a reflection of the world, you know, an angrier world, a more greedy world, you know, a less loving world, whatever. And then, so I said to myself, okay, cool. So what I need to do is become the most valuable leader of my own organization, so that even if influential people outside of my organization leave, they aren't able to like control or manipulate people, because they made a decision to do this and they need to stay focused on it at the end of the day. It's their decision. And then that's what happened. So yeah, 2, 3, 4 years, I just got better and better and better, and the organization started to grow and stretch. And then that's when it all kind of like really took a quantum leap. And I've always been very grateful, and I want to give like somebody in particular a special shout, which is Pete Cohen. This is the magical thing about network marketing. How would a 22-year-old where I was be able to work with someone like Pete Cohen, who's like a world-renowned speaker, author, like just such a very qualified person? And it's like network marketing is the only place where that can happen. And I followed him. And I didn't follow him for what he had. I followed him for who he was. And that was really important to me as well. Because if people follow you for what you have, you're that's not a good place to be, you know, because once the benefits are done, they're off. But if they follow you for who you are, it's a completely different kind of like way of leading. And so I'm very grateful and very lucky that I was following him. And that's kind of manifested into who I am today. And so, yeah, I invested in cryptocurrency like at a really good time, was listening to the right people. Again, I was always following the right people with the right results. And so my life kind of just was on a continuous kind of up, rather than in network marketing. You get a lot of like up, down. People make a lot of money, blow a lot of money. They're not financially educated. And that's where it all kind of like sewed into one for me.
What do you think drives that? As in, I know network marketing as a whole is like up and down, but say that someone who creates a lot of wealth,
yeah,
and then maybe internally they're still not fulfilled, or they just make a lot of wealth and spend it.
Yeah.
What do you think is driving that behavior?
I'm going to come back to the same to curiosity and humility, you know? I was always curious about how this success story is now so uninfluential. Like I was like, how can you have your name screamed out on stage like you're at a rock concert, which I still find quite crazy, but it's cool, to all of a sudden no one even listens to a word you say. Like really curious about how that happens. And if you go back, it's something that they did, some way they acted, some way they, you know, they like betrayed their word or made a greedy decision. And then the second one, humility. So it's always curious. Maybe that's what served me well, because I've always had those two things. I'm always curious. If first time I make a lot of money, my first thought is, okay, cool. Well, what do wealthy people do when they get a lot of money? It's simple. And humility, like, listen, I understand that having a lot of money has nothing to do with success, because you can't measure success by money. It's impossible. But people do, because it's the only thing that they can measure, because they don't have the awareness to measure success. So yeah, curiosity, humility. what do wealthy people actually do with their money? I don't want to be a one-time hitter. And then humility. I've never had that inflated like ego, thankfully. And I think it comes down to following people like Pete, who, again, if you met him, you wouldn't have a clue the achievements that he's had in his life. And I think that's like really powerful.
That is really powerful. Yeah. Following the right people. I love that. Like follow someone for who they are,
Yeah.
what they have.
Bro, well, I can't speak for industries I haven't been in, but I've seen it across the board in a lot of businesses. When you do follow people for the wrong reasons, it's bad both ways, because you imagine being followed for what you have. That's even worse than following someone for what they have, you know? And so, yeah, I've always made it a point I want to be followed for who I am, not for what I have, because what I could have could be gone tomorrow. And in fact, I did lose everything once, a few years ago. So, but no one ever knew, because my success was never propped up on that. And then because we had, wealth is at the end of the day knowledge. It's not something that you physically have. It's something that it's not something that you physically showcase. It's something that you have internally. So, when you have the skills, you can make it back and whatever. So, yeah.
So true. Like, and when you shared there about success not being about the amount of money and the numbers, which I, agree with. It's just like a path that you go down, right?
Yeah.
Operate. So it's like, what is true success for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a great question for people to kind of ask themselves, because, well, it started for me with El Nightingale, which was, success is the progressive realization of all the ideal, meaning that if you want something and you're going towards it, then you are a success, which kind of makes sense to me. But, I met people who, there's one person in particular I'm thinking of who's like a spiritual coach or whatever, like we discipled together, and he's a lot older. He actually baptized me, which was an amazing part of my life. And I look at his life and I think to myself, he gave up his corporate job. He gave everything up to follow his mission, and I would sit there and think, wow, he's one of the most successful people I know, but he doesn't have material things, for example, but he's so happy and he has an amazing family and he's very wise and he helps me so much, never wants anything back. I have other friends that have all the watches, cars and everything, and I just think they seem so empty to me. So, it's always been like something I'm really aware of. And people should ask themselves kind of like what success is for them, because as I said, your first experience is your first idea of success will be based on the person you're following, most likely. So that's why I say when I met Pete, my instant kind of definition of success is somebody who treats people well, who success is like at this point in my life was someone who can have anything but doesn't need it or want it. Whereas other people might be following someone who wears 4 watches and says like, oh, he's a goat, So it's really for you to kind of go on that journey and figure it out for yourself.
Yeah. So like tune into yourself. Like, what is true success?
Yeah. Again, curiosity,
Yeah. And actually, like you shared before, it's like sometimes you walk that, especially as an entrepreneur, you walk that path thinking that that's going to give you the outcome that you want, like creating the money and the wealth and the freedom and all that. And then you're like, oh, that was just like a mountain, to realize actually, there's a
100%, man. Read it. It's a great book. David Brooks' Second Mountain is spot on.
Nice.
But it's hard because when you start, if somebody had told me these things at the beginning, I would have said, shut up.
Yeah, of course. You have to go on
the journey. There's no way of kind of skipping it. It's like I said at the beginning, like don't touch the stove. It's hot. No, I don't want to. Let me figure it out for myself. It's kind of like one of them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Money's not going to make you happy. Oh, the only people that say that are people who have it. And then you make money and realize, oh yeah, they're actually right. Actually true.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So I'm curious there, like what impact has faith had on your inner fulfillment?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be completely like kind of honest, transparent. I'm on the journey right now, but it's one of the most amazing kind of experiences ever, my like faith found me in like the worst of times, like I was kind of like, and most people find faith when they're desperate because they kind of realize that nothing in the world can save them. And then they're caught to kind of cling on to something else. And so again, like I'm so grateful for everything, really. I mean, I was in a kind of bad spot. I was just getting curious. Again, I kept getting curious about this. I started to meet people that my idea of successful, and they're all Christians. So I was thinking, okay, cool. Well, I better look into that kind of thing. But I was really struggling. I honestly believe that like everybody, you know, everybody wants a relationship, or Jesus wants a relationship with everyone, and everyone wants a relationship, but it's like finding the middle, and it's so, people find it so difficult. Where do I start? The world's so noisy, and I'm just grateful that something was constantly chasing me, I felt like, because there were so many coincidences I couldn't even tell you, because people would think I'm lying. Like, so many random things happened, people fell in my way, and people just kept coming out of nowhere. And then I ended up going to a church one day, which was really weird, because I just landed in Vegas. I was jet lagged like crazy, bumped into a street pastor who I'd already spoke to before, and I was thinking, that's weird, like, that shouldn't be, I shouldn't have seen you today here, and I shouldn't have been here, because I literally just landed from Vegas but wanted to go and get a McFlurry. So that was weird. She said, come to church tomorrow. And every part of me was like, there's no way you want to go to church tomorrow. But I was like, yeah, cool, I'll go to church. And then that day, she introduced me to a guy. And the following day, or maybe it was a few days after, I can't remember completely, I met this guy. And imagine just meeting someone for the first time. We're about halfway through a coffee, and he said, Dan, you've been thinking about getting baptized. And I don't know why, I don't know why, completely random. And he said, I've got some shorts and towel in the car. Do you want to get back? Do you want to give your life to Christ? I was like, yeah.
Wow.
I was like, yeah, go on then. And which is weird for me, because I wasn't normally that kind of person. Like, you know, and at the time I was in a bit of so I was going through some things. I was in terrible, like, condition, like, physically. And I'm normally somebody that kind of used to really care about that. And we went, if you know my area, there's a place called Chatham, which isn't the nicest place, put it that way. I think it was a school holidays, in the middle of a leisure centre. He baptised me in the pool in front of everybody. And when I think back, wow, it's the most transformational moment of my life. Now, from there till now has been a big uphill battle for me with my faith. But I'm still hungry as ever to really, like, you know, to keep journeying. But it's been amazing, you know.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that as well. Because I remember when you shared that with me before, and it really touched me, because sometimes things, just come in the most mysterious ways.
Yeah.
And like in that story, like, something that obviously needed to find you at that time, like, found you.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's a massive calling. Like, I think there's a lot of people that are searching for, you know, like, Jesus, like, right now. And so, like, I'm very, very committed to doing what I need to do to get in a position where I can, you know, help and serve people, because it's magical, you know. Like, it's well, magical is probably a wrong word, but it's amazing. It's like revelatory, you know.
You said, if you don't mind going into it, you shared about the uphill, like, battle as you came into faith.
Yeah.
And then what has been your journey with that?
Yeah, it's like, everything's uphill in life, really. It feels like, right? Anything. And, you know, even from Bible standpoint, it's like, you know, it's not many people. It says in the Bible that the way to hell is kind of wide, and very few will pass through. You know, like, it's difficult, because, I mean, so many just worldly things in the way. I mean, again, I don't want to get too into it, because it can. I don't want to, like, get too into it, because you have a world which is pushing agendas. And again, another thing that people should be curious about is how come, like, Christianity is the only religion that seems to get attacked. If you look at the UK, there's certain religions that they almost endorse, but now they're trying to cancel people even praying on the street. It's like, for me, that's a big kind of, like, question. Why would they not want you to know the truth? And so you're faced with the world, busyness. You know, for me, being busy is one of the biggest, like, attacks. You know, being busy. And that's one thing that I really like working on as well with you know, a good friend of mine is, we all have time, but we need to make time, you know? And so, but when you're in business, you're conflicted, because you're chasing kind of like money. Well, you're not, but you are, you know, like, you're chasing your business, which ultimately is for money, which we shouldn't be chasing money, because when we chase money, money becomes the God.
Yeah.
And so these are all, like, challenges that I ultimately need to face up to. I am facing up to, and I'm growing and learning. But it's just the fact that the world is so noisy, and we have so many things to think about, and we want instant gratification. There is no instant gratification with, like, your faith is a growing, you know, you work on it every day, and you grow and you learn, and the ultimate treasure comes at the end, you know? And so it's like, if we order food, it will be here in 20 minutes. But like, you know, you got a long time to wait until, you know, everything kind of really matters when it comes to your faith.
That's so true. Yeah, I see it as almost like there's so many areas which they try, like whatever they is.
Yeah.
I tried to create division, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like, you know, we live in a world where of like duality, right? So there's like they're trying to get two sides.
Yep.
And then like this faith is like this higher thing, which is trying to bring people together to truth of like, you know, oneness. That's my perception of it. And it's like anything that creates separation and pulls people against one another.
Yep.
It's like, that's the agenda.
Yeah.
It's the smart thing to do, right? Yeah, like when you access those states of higher consciousness and step into, like that oneness or that unity, right? That brings people together, right? That's like how I view it. But I'm similar. I'm still on that journey of, discovery, and it's the fascination and the curiosity of, you know, what is truth, and, you know,
well, I mean,
important questions to ask.
100%. They're great questions to ask. And that's, again, it comes back to following the right people. I didn't have a great experience with church personally, you know, but when I started to learn how to read scripture, it became like, to me, it's just like a unanimous, like, yes, true, when you actually read it. But I'll come across people and say, oh yeah, the Bible's really contradicting. And I'll be like, oh, where? They haven't got a clue what they're talking about. They've never even looked at it. So again, you have that ignorance or curious mind and acceptance or wanting to learn. But yeah, I make you right on like the division side of things. I mean, it's look what they did through COVID, for example. It was like the greatest, maybe we don't want to go down there, but you know, it was like one of the greatest kind of plays of all time.
Yeah.
You know, turning families against each other over the most craziest of things. But yeah, they're very good at that, you know, creating division and making sure we notice our differences rather than coming together on what we're like unified by.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and like connecting beyond the physical, right?
Yeah.
Or it's like when you can, who cares like what color people's skin are, or how old someone is, or young, or even like what faith someone has and compared to someone else, or what football team someone supports compared to another. Like when you tune over all of that and you start to see someone beyond just the physical, like you have a lot more compassion and love for people, right? Which is the whole point of a lot of faith too, right? It's like actually being able to lead with more compassion.
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know, like I can't remember where I read a book about when I was learning about building like prospects and stuff in my business. I read about Facebook grouping and the psychological side behind it, because we're all still kind of like from tribal cult originally. Because if it's like, if I'm in my tribe and you try to come into my tribe, I'll kill you. You know, or if you don't get accepted into the tribe, you get killed. So maybe we still have that like nature in us. So like with Facebook grouping, it's like if you have a fetish of cameras, well, that was a weird example. Like you have a fetish of the most random thing. Yeah, you can find a Facebook group of people who are like that.
Yeah, they like congregate.
And it's like, again, like cult kind of like mentality. And that was like weird to me. So yeah, it's like the way they use LGBTQ, you know, which is completely against like pretty much anyone, even people that think they should be involved, whatever. It's like they create these little identities for you to go and pocket yourself into and then roll you up against the other ones. And now all of a sudden you just hate each other, even though you don't know each other. And that to me is like really interesting to kind of sit back and just laugh at it, because I mean, it's almost impossible to really try and have a conversation with someone about that. It's not happening because most people don't know how to have a conversation. They only know how to have an argument.
Yeah.
So,
you know, I'm curious, like, how have you used the principles from the Bible and into and benefited? Well, how have you used the principles from the Bible, which has then benefited your business and your life and the way that you live?
I actually try not to do that.
Okay.
You know, and again, it's kind of a lot of wisdom from people that I kind of like learn from. I mean, there's so much wisdom, and John C. Maxwell is the best of bringing the Bible to life. So I always recommend people why would you listen to me when you can listen to the best? And so I listen to him a lot. But, you know, at the end of the day, as I said, like, if people follow me because I sound good or I can quote some scriptures nicely, that's not really I mean, it's quite inspiring and motivating, but I would rather be somebody that they see me and see Jesus like through me and want to have a relationship for him. That's that. When you say what's my goal, that's kind of like the journey and the goal I'm on. Because if you know me because I sound good and I quote some good scriptures, I mean, that's really like impressive. But what am I doing when you're not watching me? Or like, who am I like really? You know? But if you see me and you see me and see something in me, and I can be like, well, this is what's inspiring me. This is what and I send you on like your own journey. For me, that's a lot more powerful, you know. So just living by the principles is better than quoting it. And I'm learning the hard way about that, by the way. I'm not sitting here telling you I'm perfect. I'm telling you kind of like where I am now and the direction of kind of like my life, you know.
Oh, right. I appreciate like us going there as well, because it's for me, it's touching. You know, it's deep, it's real. It's like, you know, a path which you've walked, which has created a huge transformation in your life, right? Which is what this whole podcast is about. Yeah. You know, with Transformation Code, it's like learning the codes that have worked and then having that curiosity of being open-minded, open-hearted, to actually be like, is this something that resonates with me? You know, and people's paths are different, and that's okay. But like, we're all on this human experience, right? Where we're just trying to figure it out and no one really has a clue.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. And I just realized it's like, if I put my faith, I mean, look, if I put my faith in you, for example, you're a human being. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna let me down. And if my faith is in you, it's all on you. As soon as you let me down, I'm gonna hate you. I'm gonna resent you. And that's where it's like dangerous. If I put my hope of my financial future in cryptocurrency, like, that's not a good thing to do, to put my entire faith on a currency. And that's why people end up so lost, because they put all their hope and faith in the world. But the world is going to let you down 100% of the time. People will let you down 100% of the time. And so, like, that's one thing that you can see as constant, is just like, Jesus will never let you down, you know, he'll never leave you, never forsake you. So, yeah, that's another thing. It's like, when your hope isn't propped up on the worldly ways, you just walk around thinking, well, you know, because the problems that used to consume me I don't even think about them anymore. I'm just thinking how insignificant. Okay, yeah, of course, it's a bit inconvenient, but whatever, you know, hey, it's just not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. So, yeah, that's another reason why it's like really helped me.
So powerful. Appreciate it, man. So at this point of the podcast, I mean, normally you have like a vault with a mystery message, right?
Okay.
And then you pick out the mystery message, and then you like reflect on that.
Wow. Okay.
And you'll share it. But I've got to take some ownership here, because I didn't bring the stuff. So it's all good. So I'm gonna just tune into my own mystery message, share it with you, and then I'm curious and obviously the listeners can also reflect on this. And yeah, just see what comes up for you, and then we can have a chat about it, and the listeners at home can also listen in to see what resonates with them. So yeah,
cool.
But owning the fact that I didn't bring it today.
So good, it happens.
Yeah. So my question would be, imagine you had a magic wand, and within 6 months, like, all of your dreams and ambitions could come true, and this true success piece would be created. What would that be for you?
Wow, that's a crazy question. In 6 months. Wow. Well, first of all, I'd have, like, my relationship with God would just be in a completely different level. And I just think it's a great question, actually. 1 second. In 6 months' time from now, your dream is completely finished, almost.
Yeah, and this like success piece, which was quite present in the conversation, it's like had come true. It's come to fruition. Just
okay, cool. Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, what I do right now is I'm building like a community called Empower Global Network, and I would just love to see it just completely, you know, like expand to a new level. I think we have like 1,000 members or whatever in a minute. I would love to see tens and tens of thousands of people, you know, getting healthier, being happier, living, you know, their dream life. Because at the end of the day, you know, Zig Ziglar famously said, help enough people get what they want and you'll have everything you want. I honestly think I have everything that I kind of need, to be honest with you, you know, and not saying I have like billions of pounds, because most people associate with, I have all I need already. So I guess in 6 months' time, I would love to see thousands and thousands of people having a better experience in the world because I was here, and because we created a vehicle and an environment for them to thrive, whether that means, whether that's with us or they go on to do better things. And yeah, to see the people that I love most happy, healthy, thriving, and living on purpose. That'll probably be it.
That's awesome, man. I love it. Mate, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, man. It's amazing. In Mallorca as well, of all places.
Yeah, beautiful studio. Yeah, shout out to your dream studio here in
100%.
Mallorca. And yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, bro.
Legend. Whoosh. Legend.